Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Brian's Horror Corner. Or welcome if you are new to my channel. Glad to have you here. So, we're going to wrap up part one of this overall 1980s horror series, wrap up the year 1980. Um, so, as it turns out, I watched and reviewed about 30 movies over these 3 months here for this part of the overall series for 1980, and then 30 movies for my collection, I should say, from 1980, and then about another 5 to 10 that I found online, like streaming or YouTube or something like that. So probably watched a total of about 40 movies from 1980, and that's not even all of them. I couldn't get to all of them. Some other ones that were online and stuff. Maybe down the road, when I have a chance, I'll watch it. But obviously, I got all the big ones. Not only the 30 that I reviewed for my collection for this series since May, but also, of course, the ones that I've reviewed from 1980 for previous series, like years ago, going back the last 3 or 4 years. Other ones that were included in other series. So, with all that being said, this is going to be I'm going to do a top 20 plus two honorable mentions for the year for horror movies, in my opinion, for 1980. Um, there's only one movie that I watched for this entire series that I own, I should say, that I really didn't care for to the point that I ended up selling it, and that was Alien Dead, the Alien Dead, I should say. And if you watch that review, you can see why. And I already sold that, so it's already out of my collection. But other than that, all the other movies from 1980 that I watched for this series range from either I absolutely love it and it's an all-time classic, as you'll see from this list, to it's not great, but I still get entertainment out of it. I still like it. So, yeah, so even the movies that I don't mention on this top 20 list and honorable mentions, I'm still glad to have them in my collection. And I'll give you some overall thoughts about the year 1980 as far as horror goes when I'm done going through this list. So, with that being said, I'm going to give you my two honorable mentions first. I'm going to do my best not to say too much about these movies because you can always watch the reviews, the individual reviews that are up on my channel, to know my full in-depth thoughts about each of them. But maybe I'll say one or two things, but I'm going to try my best to keep this video under 20 minutes. So, all right, so here we go. My top 20 horror movies from 1980, based on my opinion, of course. So the first honorable mention that I'm going to talk about is for my standard DVD collection, and that movie is The Unseen with Barbara Bach. I just like saying it that way, with Barbara Bach. Yeah, this movie kind of surprised me. It's not anything overly great, but it's a fun sort of atmospheric movie where there's something in the basement kind of thing, and yeah, I especially like the ending of this movie. So The Unseen didn't quite make my top 20, but I had to mention it as one of my two honorable mentions. So there you go. And then my other honorable mention is going to be for my Severin DVD collection. I think this is one that I reviewed fairly early in the series, maybe in May, and that is Night of the Demon. So yeah, this is essentially a slasher Bigfoot movie, a Bigfoot slasher movie, I should say. Like I think at the time I did my review, I said it's like a hairy Jason Voorhees, frankly, and some of the kills are pretty insane in this movie. And when Bigfoot is on screen, the killer, it's pretty fun stuff. So I had to mention Night of the Demon from 1980. Okay, so now that we have the two honorable mentions out of the way, now we're going to get into my top 20. I should mention, too, that my top 15 were pretty much set in stone. 16 through 20, plus my two honorable mentions, I really could have thrown in a bag, and on any given day, they could have been in just about any order. But I like all these movies, obviously. So, with that being said, let's talk about my number 20, and that's actually going to be the most recent film that I reviewed for this part of the series. And that movie is, again, for my Severin collection on DVD, the slasher movie, the Ozploitation slasher movie, Nightmares. They're also known as Stage Fright. And I think this is a pretty good slasher movie. It's got one major flaw, which, if you want to know what that is, watch my review on it. It should just be the video before this one. But I rather enjoyed Nightmares. The kills, the atmosphere, the setting of the like community theater works for me. So yeah, Nightmares is going to be my number 20 horror movie from 1980. All right, moving on to number 19 here. This is actually going to be a movie from my Vinegar Syndrome Blu-ray collection, and that movie is this one's a hard to see with the lighting, but it's The Children from 1980. So yeah, The Children is it's not a great movie, but it's a very atmospheric movie, a very kind of creepy small town setting, and there are some creepy visuals that I remember in this movie. So this is one of those movies that I'm glad to have in my collection, so when I'm in the mood for it, to put on and have some fun with it. Even though there's some bad, you got some of the young kids playing the children in this movie looking directly into the camera as they're smiling. So it's not a great movie. There's a lot of things that don't make sense, but it sure is. It's cheese. It's 1980s cheese fun, to say the least. So The Children, my number 19. I gotta take a drink of water. All right, getting into number 18 here. This is a movie I actually had on the outside looking in at first. It was going to be one of my honorable mentions, but upon looking at these movies a little bit more, I realized, I like this movie more than some of the other ones I've mentioned before. So that's from my Blue Underground DVD collection, Nightmare City by Umberto Lenzi. Yeah, this movie's just batshit crazy, and it gets going right off the bat, which I really appreciate. Not everything makes sense, of course. It's just there's not a lot of story here. It's basically a radioactive spill causes contaminations of thousands of infected citizens, and they transform into bloodthirsty undead fiends. I mean, if that isn't a recipe for a great movie, I don't know what is, frankly. So yeah, Nightmare City by Umberto Lenzi, Italian horror from 1980s, is going to be my number 18. Let's see, number 17 is going to be one of my more recent reviews, and that's from my standard Blu-ray collection, and that movie is Death Ship with George Kennedy and Richard Crenna. Yeah, this is another movie. I just really like the setting. I haven't seen a lot of horror movies set on ships or oceans. I really like the performances. I like the atmosphere here, but mostly the production value of the Death Ship, as it were. And it's just it's not overly amazing or anything, but it's a good time. A very, very fun movie to watch. Death Ship from 1980. That's my number 17. Number 16 is going to be one that wasn't part of this 3-month series, but it's one that I reviewed in a previous series over the last couple of years. It's a slasher movie, and that movie is Prom Night with Jamie Lee Curtis and Leslie Nielsen here. This is from Synapse Film Edition for my standard DVD collection. I don't know what it is. I just like Prom Night. I mean, not everything makes sense. It gets kind of wonky towards the end with a lot of questions and things, but I don't know. From the way the movie starts with this incident that takes place, through the creepy voice on the phone, to the stalking and slashing, I really like this as a slasher movie, Prom Night. I know some people have their problems with it, and I think it's one of Jamie Lee Curtis's better performances during that time from 78 to 81. I like this movie. I like her in this movie a little bit more than some other ones. Obviously not the original Halloween, but yeah, Prom Night from 1980. That's my number 16. All right, getting into the top 15 here, and this is what really separates the boys from the men, I guess. My number 15 is going to be from my Severin Blu-ray collection. I think it's Blu-ray, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, I had to look at the slipcover. And that is Don't Go in the House. In a steel room built for revenge, they die burning in chains. Yeah, this movie's a really good psychological study, again, from 1980. It takes a lot from Psycho and Maniac and kind of combines them. And the main actor in this movie, I forget his name, and it's not... Let's see, is Dan Grimaldi. That's who it is, who plays Donnie Kohler. He does a really good job in this movie, and there's one scene that's really brutal, of course, with a flamethrower or blowtorch. Um, but yeah, just the way it plays out, he's definitely got some mommy issues, some former abuse issues, and this is just a really well made movie. Don't go into the house, or don't go in the house. Um, what did I say? Don't go in the house. Whatever. That's my number 15 from 1980. All right, number 14. This is a movie that needs more love, I think, from 1980. It's another from my Vinegar Syndrome Blu-ray collection, and I just really enjoy this movie. It's just really fun and entertaining, and that is Fade to Black. Um, yeah, this is another one that's got a great performance here with Dennis Christopher, who really plays this guy who's just really Eric Binford. Lives for the movies basically, and acts them out in real and violent, murderous ways basically, and that's just such a brilliant concept for a film. There's another guy that's got some issues going on between the ears and ends up snapping at some point, and it just really plays out well, and everything from the production value to the makeup effects and everything. This is a really underrated movie from 1980 in my opinion. So Fade to Black, number, what is it, 13? No, 14. Sorry, Fade to Black, number 14. I guess I lost my numbers there. So number 13 is going to be another movie from my DVD collection from 1980, and that's Dario Argento's Inferno. Yeah, this is a great movie for visually speaking, color palette speaking. Very stylish, of course, as most Argento movies are. It's just a great unfolding story that I really enjoyed. So, yeah, Inferno, my number 13 movie for 1980. And now we're down to number 12, and this is kind of one that surprised me a little bit. It's from my standard DVD collection, and that is Dress to Kill, with Michael Caine, Angie Dickinson, and Nancy Allen. I really enjoyed this. It's more of an erotic thriller, I would say, but there's definitely horror aspects to it as well. Um, but yeah, Brian De Palma, just a brilliant director, especially during this time. Does a really good job with the visual work here, the story. It never lets up. It's just a really good movie with great performances and good kills. I really enjoyed Dress to Kill, and that's why it's my number 12 for my 1980 top 20 movies of the year. So, and then number 11 is going to be one that I didn't review for this particular part of 1980, but it was from an earlier series, and that was a Christmas series, and that is for my uh, no standard Blu-ray collection, Christmas Evil. Another great character study. Um, yeah, it's just a really good movie to watch around the holidays or really any time of the year. But this is, of course, is about a guy that takes his love, played by Brandon Maggott, who does a great job. He takes his love for Christmas and Santa Claus a little too seriously and becomes Santa Claus. The end of this movie is really batshit crazy. It's fun. It kind of leaves you with some questions, but also some ambiguity where you get to try to figure out for you what's going on. But yeah, Christmas Evil, great character study, great holiday horror film, and that's my number 11 for 1980. So now we are in the top 10. This is really where we separate the best of the best here. My number 10 is going to be for my Scream Factory collection. Um, Blu-ray. First time watch for this series, and I just had an absolute blast with this movie, and that's Motel Hell. Yeah, just everything about this movie really worked for me, from the setting to the performances. It's really campy and over the top and fun, where you basically have Farmer Vincent with one of the great quotes of all time: "It takes all kinds of critters to make Farmer Vincent's fritters." This is a great movie, a great horror movie from 1980, horror comedy. Um, it's just, I just really enjoyed it. This brother and sister duo that's basically capturing people and seasoning them by planting them in the ground to make Farmer Vincent's fritters. So over the top, but really, really fun. Motel Hell, my number 10. And now we got number 9, another movie that I watched for the first time in this part of the series. And that's also from my Scream Factory collection, Alligator, um, with Robert Forster. Yeah, what can you say? This is the 4K Ultra HD and Blu-ray. I don't have a 4K player yet, but Alligator was just a really great time. Really good creature feature, and I thought they did an amazing job with how they showed the alligator, where sometimes they just used a regular alligator, like in a small model set, and then at other times they had close-ups on an alligator to make it look larger than it was. It's just very well done movie by director Louis Teague here. Yeah, just a really good creature feature movie, Alligator, my number 9 for 1980. Okay, now we got number 8 for 1980. It's going to be reminiscent of the shirt that I'm wearing. And that, of course, is from my Scream Factory Deluxe Edition box set, the original Friday the 13th movie. Yeah, what can you say about this? It's not my favorite in the series or the franchise. It's most, I don't think it is for most people, but definitely because of what it meant to slasher movies for the 80s and horror movies in general at that time. I almost think that what it did for slasher movies puts it higher than the quality of the movie itself, if that makes sense. But it's still an enjoyable watch. I mean, I could still put this on and watch it throughout the summer, or really any time of the year, and enjoy it. But yeah, the original Friday the 13th, definitely got to be a top 10 movie from that year, and it's number 8 for me overall. So, sorry, another drink. It's just water, not no alcohol today. So, number 7, and some people might think this is a bit too high, but this is another movie that, well, it's not, well, not everything makes sense, and it's incredibly cheesy for the 80s. That's why I like it so much, and that's why it's this high. Number 7 for my Scream Factory collection, Blu-ray, Humanoids from the Deep. If you watched my review for this series, you know that I absolutely had a blast with this movie. Just such an over-the-top concept. But I don't know. I thought they pull it off really well for what it is. Roger Corman cult classics. I just really, one of the most enjoyable and entertaining movies from this year. Humanoids from the Deep, my number 7. Okay, and then number 6 is one of the most notorious films from 1980. And that, of course, is going to be from my standard Blu-ray collection, Cannibal Holocaust. Yeah, this is definitely a more disturbing movie, but you got to give the devil its due. One of the most controversial movies ever made, but it's still, watching it for the second time, it's just such a brilliant movie with the music and the shots, the way the movie's presented, the structure of it, obviously the death scenes are pretty brutal, the gore's pretty brutal, the animal kills are pretty brutal. So this is a movie you kind of have to be warned in going into, but that doesn't mean it's any less. It's Cannibal Holocaust has to be high on this list because of what it did for the horror genre overall and Ruggero Deodato. So Cannibal Holocaust, number 6 for 1980. And now we really get on the pedestal for the top 5 movies from the year 1980, in my opinion. So number 5 is going to be one that a lot of people probably have in their top 2 or 3. This is from my Blue Underground Blu-ray collection, and I absolutely love this movie. I've only seen it twice, but it gets better each time I watch it. And that, of course, is Maniac with Joe Spinell and Caroline Munro. Just such a brilliant movie. One of the best slashers from the 80s, in my opinion. One of the best performances in a horror movie by Joe Spinell. The movie looks fantastic. It has that late 70s New York City sleaze and feel to it. Definitely a very sleazy slasher movie, but very effective. So Maniac, my number 5 from 1980. Number 4, an old-fashioned ghost story, which is from my Scream Factory collection, and that is John Carpenter's The Fog. I absolutely love the atmosphere of this movie. Of course, you've got a great cast with Adrienne Barbeau and Jamie Lee Curtis, John Houseman, Janet Leigh, Hal Holbrook. Um, who am I forgetting here? There's um, this gentleman whose name is escaping me right now. Oh man, why can't I think of his name? And how come they don't have it on here? Shoot, come on, man. Tom Atkins. Good grief. Sometimes that happens to me where I have horror brain farts. But yeah, John Atkins or Tom Atkins, still having one. But I absolutely love The Fog. It's a comfort movie. You know, the small seaside town setting, the atmosphere. Obviously, it's not a gory movie, but it's one of my favorite John Carpenter movies, The Fog, my number four movie from 1980. Coming in at number three, and this movie is I've only seen it once as part of this recent series, but it drove all the way to number three because I just absolutely had a ball with it and absolutely love so much about it. And that's another movie from my Blue Underground Blu-ray collection, and that's Lucio Fulci's City of the Living Dead. Oh God, I just absolutely love the practical effects, the gore effects in this movie. Just kind of everything about it. It works for me on so many levels. It's so fun, so well made. Um, yeah, I don't really know what else to say about it. Watch my review to know more. But City of the Living Dead, my number three favorite horror movie from 1980. In my opinion, the third best movie from 1980. Getting into the top two, and this is probably going to be a surprise to a lot of people, but I really love my haunted house ghost kind of stories, and I don't think there's one better that I've seen anyway than this one, and that is from 1980 from my standard DVD collection, The Changeling, with George C. Scott and Trish Vanderveer. This is one that I think I have to upgrade because, first of all, it's one of these snapper cases, which I'm not a fan of. But I just got to get the better version of The Changeling because I love it that much. What can you say? Great performance by George C. Scott. Great setting, great production value with this. It's one of the best haunted houses you can imagine for a movie like this. Just the mystery that's involved with it. I just absolutely love everything right to the climactic ending of this movie. The Changeling, my second favorite and second best movie in my opinion of 1980. But of course, number one's probably not going to be a huge surprise. This was not part of the recent series where I did a review for it, but it's from a few years ago, part of a different series. But absolutely one of the best horror movies of all time, and of course that is Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, with Jack Nicholson, Shelley Duvall, who just recently passed away, rest in peace. What can you say about The Shining? It's iconic. The lines are iconic. The look is iconic. The music is iconic. The kills are iconic. His performance is one of the best performances, I think, in horror history, without a doubt. I think Shelley Duvall's really good in this movie, even though Stanley Kubrick got a performance out of her, and probably not in the best way. But still, I even like the kid in this movie. Him riding his Hot Wheels around the Outlook Hotel or the Overlook Hotel. This movie's iconic. There's no way it couldn't be number one for 1980. So there you have it, guys. That's my top 20 movies for the year 1980. My favorite, the ones that I think are the best. Top 20 plus two honorable mentions. Now, this video's already gotten longer than I was hoping, so I'm going to wrap up and give you my final thoughts. 1980 is a hell of a year for horror, and as I said, there's probably about 5 to 10 other horror movies that I reviewed for this series or from previous series that I could have mentioned as well, but then I have a top 30, top 35, top 40. You got to cut the head off the snake at some point and decide, no, these movies are the ones I like best. And so that's what I did here. So yeah, but great year for horror. I was really glad to watch all the movies that I did for 1980. I tried to put comments in my community tab on my channel for the ones that I watched online that didn't do a review for. There's one there, which is Cannibal Apocalypse, which I'm in the process of adding to my collection. That's one that I did watch online that I really enjoyed and wanted to add to my collection with John Saxon. So that one will be in my collection within a few days here. It's being shipped, so yeah, but my final thoughts, 1980, great year. Go ahead and comment any 1980s horror movies that I didn't mention in my top 20 that you would have in your top 20. whether it was a horror movie from 1980 that was part of this series or part of one of my earlier series, or even ones from that I didn't review but mentioned, an online 1980s lesser known horror movie. With that being said, that closes the chapter on this overall 1980s horror series for now. We'll be kicking off 1981 part of the series as we kick off the new year, January 1st, 2025. That's when I'll be going back to this series. Until then, of course, I'm going to keep you entertained with lots of great horror content for the next 5 months, 6 months, however many months are left in 2024. So stay tuned for that great horror content. But with that being said, thank you all for watching each and every review for 1980 as for this part of the overall 1980s horror series. I hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, go ahead and comment any thoughts you have about the overall about the year 1980 or any of the movies that you feel I left off of my top 20. But with that being said, I hope everybody's doing well, and thank you for watching. Stay scared. Bye.